Okay, Christina here to listen to some music. And today's music selection is the continuation of our full album listening of Asia by Steely Dan. This is track number 2, Asia. So we now have quite a collection of full albums on the channel, and what I do is not listening straight through all at once. I do one track at a time, but I do them pretty quickly, like maybe 1 or 2 days in between each one, and I go back and review and just keep adding each one in there and just really let it all sink in. It gives me a chance to listen closely, but then also kind of sit back and relax with it a little bit. I also don't have room in the posting schedule to post every single track out there for the public to see. So I try to pick the most popular ones to release to everybody, but you can find the rest of the tracks either on Patreon or if you're a channel member. And so it's obvious that we're getting this whole full album experience here, but what else are we doing with this music? I am a professional, classically trained musician, instrumentalist, vocalist, composer, and professor. So we dig into all different aspects of this music, how it's composed, the instrumentation, some form and analysis, instrument demos, and how do we relate to the music? Why do we like this stuff? Or maybe why do we not like it? So I thoroughly enjoyed track number 1. There were a couple of magical moments within it. Be sure to check out that reaction if you're interested to find out exactly where those were. And so what's going to happen with this one? Well, no more delay. Let's listen. Okay, I think we're ready for track number 2. Here we go.
Up on the hill, people never stand. They just don't care. Chinese music under banyan tree. Here at the above the sea. Asia, when all my line dancing is through, I run to you.
Okay. It's smooth once again. I was hoping for some smoothness. We had a ton of it with the first track, Black Cow. Well, yeah, this is definitely delivering on the smoothness. I think that there is a thicker, richer texture to this track. So I said this in the reaction to track number 1, Black Cow, but I'll repeat it here. I already reacted to one of the tracks on this album, Home at Last. So I'll be working that in, like I'll review it and I'll mention like, hey, Home at Last goes here in the order of when we're doing all these tracks in a row here for the full album. But my experience with Home at Last and then with Black Cow, and there are 2 tracks in between those 2 songs on the full album. But that was sort of my weird little window into the album. First Home at Last, then Black Cow. And they are actually kind of similar. So I have been really curious to find out what's going in between. They need to still keep their signature sound, but they had to change it up a little bit. And it's not that I was worried, I was just wondering how. So now I'm seeing it, hearing it. It's a thicker texture. So many neat little instruments. I heard marimba and weird little plucking of like maybe guitar strings in the background. That was just right there at the end, like kind of somewhere over here in the background. But just a thicker texture in general, really sustained, not very sparse at all. There's not a lot of emptiness, but sometimes that's a good thing. Okay, but what's up with, they were describing background like a Chinese background, but then I heard a dude ranch. So that's interesting. So I still don't know what the album is about. It doesn't have to be a concept album, but I still don't know what this band likes to write about. So, like with Black Cow, it was kind of a breakup song, but also sort of a strength and power kind of song, because it was like, goodbye, but I'm going to be okay. What you did made me sad, but I'm okay. I'm good. So, what is this? I have no idea. Well, I don't know. But we're going to keep going to find out. So here we go. Back it up a little bit. Here we go.
I run to you. Up on the hill, they've got time to burn. There's no return. Double helix in the sky tonight. Blow out the hardware. Let's do it right. Asia, when all my dying dancing is through, I run to you.
Okay. Wow. Whoa, okay. So this song is like 8 minutes long. I think it's the longest track on the album. To me, it is very descriptive. I feel like the smoothness of this band has been in the supporting role, and now suddenly it's more of a main character. I hope that makes sense. And also, this album came out in 1977. So we're right in the middle of prog rock. And I've done a lot of prog rock on the channel now. I feel like I've really gotten to know that genre. But of course, there's always more to learn. So what I'm learning here is that this is like jazz prog rock. I was about to say that it's more jazzy than prog. And then all of a sudden, we had the time signature changes. We already have the key signature changes, but that's sort of par for the course for jazzy pieces of music. But then all of a sudden, we had a couple of interesting time signatures, a couple of beats that were skipped, and a lot of big, round triplet moments. Bum, bum, bum. I really like a couple of the cadences. That's like the ending chord of a phrase, and it just kind of went up like that. That was really neat. Oh, it changes all over the place. This would be a fabulous piece to sit down and do a formal chord analysis of. Don't have time for that today. But the instrumentation with it is just as fascinating. So more marimba, heavy with the piano chords, the keyboard. That little, is it a Hammond organ maybe? And I love the little ornamentation gestures. Ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. Just really cute stuff. And then this little motif that came in, ba 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 ba. It does sort of sound more like Asian instruments. And I like that touch. But then it was not my imagination that I heard them mention a dude ranch, because I'm hearing the slide guitar sound. So this is a very interesting mix of flavors here. I kind of love it, but it's taking me by surprise just a little tiny bit. It's a little bit more experimental than I was expecting, but at the same time, I'm really glad that it is. All right, I think we're headed into a new section. If not, then it's a building of the previous section. Let's back it up a little bit and continue on. All right, saxophone. Okay. All right. Excellent guitar solo there, but still the thickness of this texture. I don't know whether to think I am eating a delicious 5-course meal or just dessert. Is it going to be too much? I don't think it was too much yet, at least not for me. It's like a dish that you keep eating, and it's like different flavors sort of pop out at you at different times. But they're all there, but it's like you catch that one and then you catch this one. And it's all very delicious, but it's just swirling. It was bringing back a similar feeling that I got with, for instance, Firth of Fifth with Genesis. I'm not directly comparing the two. I'm just saying that how many changes there were and how professionally done it all was. They make it sound so easy, but this is not easy. No way. It's just so good. And it would be so impressive to see performed live. But this might be heading into sort of the realm of maybe one of the masterpieces on an album, which would make sense. It's 8 minutes long. And I love this huge instrumental spot in the center. Actually haven't heard much of the vocals yet. All right. Again, excellent guitar solo, matched up perfectly with all those crazy changes, the chord changes. Let's hear what's happening with the saxophone.
up on the hill. They think I'm okay, or so they say. Chinese music.
Okay, I like the form of this piece. It's pretty balanced, but then there's all of that diversity and flavor in the middle. All those flavors swirling around. But we had the opening material return and the vocals. So that middle part was just like a three or four parter, instrumental, like a series of solos. You feel like you're at a jazz concert, which is why this is so commendable here, because it sounds like you're just riffing, but it's programmed. So do they perform this exactly like this in their concerts, or do they allow for some jazz riffing? I may have to check out some live performances in the future on the channel to find that out. If you know, for now, go ahead and put in the comments. It does help kind of guide me to the right versions of live performances to do. I think it's really interesting, though. The vocalist has such a unique tone, timbre to his voice. And then the way he pronounces things, like he even says the word Asia a little bit interestingly, Asia. There's sort of a nasally quality to it, but it's not like nasally in the tone of his actual singing voice. It's more like a really shallow way of ending some of his words. And I couldn't help but almost picking up on the idea that the saxophone was imitating that. I'll have to go back after we're done with the song, because we're almost there, and point some of those spots out. That can't just be a coincidence. They had to have been influencing one another. Or maybe that is the lead singer playing the saxophone solo. You never know. All right. So we had the return of the first third of the piece. The whole giant center section was just a solo debut. And the saxophone was great. So guitar, saxophone, and then some piano and the drums. Oh my gosh. Finally get to hear this percussionist. So happy for that. All right. Let's hear this one on out.
Chinese music always sets me free. Angular banjos sound good to me. Asia, when all my time dancing is through, I run to you.
Well, that was a unique ending. It had a nice fade out. There was so much happening musically at the end there, I almost didn't register that there was a fade out. I loved the fade out in the previous track. Here, it was pretty simplistic. Just fade out. But all of the sounds at the end there, and I'm sure it's a different experience listening on headphones rather than like on an open stereo. You really have to have the surround sound in that stereo if that's the case. But some of the sound effects, I actually was first there was this giant swell, and I was like, "What's happening?" And then it sounded like almost like a rain stick, like bubbles. I don't know. I was like, "Woo," like something dripping down from a broken pipe or something in the ceiling. It was really weird, but it was cool. It definitely kind of gave me the shivers here, but then I don't know, it was sort of fantastical. It was sort of otherworldly. I was thinking aliens? Ghosts? I don't know. But that was interesting. I would have never predicted that ending. Does it match the rest of the song? I don't know, but maybe that's because I need to look at the lyrics. Let's start with the lyrics. Maybe that will make things make more sense. Okay, up on the hill, people never stare, they just don't care. Chinese music under the banyan trees here at the Dude Ranch above the sea. Asia, when all my dime dancing is through, I run to you. Up the hill, they've got time to burn, there's no return. Double helix in the sky tonight. Well, that's kind of otherworldly. Throw out the hardware. Let's do it right, Asia. When all my dime dancing is through, I run to you. Up on the hill, they think I'm okay, or so they say. Chinese music always sets me free. Angular banjos, I thought I heard the word banjos, sound good to me. Okay. Asia, when all my dime dancing is through, I run to you. I'm not quite sure what this means, but it might be the kind of song where they just wrote it for themselves and we get to sort of pick up on whatever we want. So I'm sure there is something going on here. If you know, again, put that in the comments. That'd be great to know. But I think what I am left to here is my own interpretation. So there's a literal interpretation here. The Chinese music, the Dude Ranch. But there is something having to do with a relationship, one person relating to another. Maybe some longing, yearning. Up on the hill, they've got time to burn, there's no return. But then we're talking about double helix in the sky. And then it did sound otherworldly. So are we is this like heaven? Up on the hill. What's on the hill? People never stare, they just don't care. So where is this place that we're talking about? Does this have to do with like chemically going somewhere? Chinese music always sets me free. And angular banjos. Are they talking about actual Chinese instruments that kind of look like banjos? Okay. Well, I'm a little perplexed, but maybe that's the fun in it. I'm just going to let it sit there for now. I did pick up on the Chinese music, on the Dude Ranch music, and the otherworldliness of it. And I think I'm going to leave it with that because that's fun enough. Okay, so let's go back and check out a couple of these spots. So first, there was a really cool cadence that I mentioned. Let's see if I can find one of those. It's just when one of the chord progressions ended, and it ended up high. Like maybe up on the hill? I don't know. But it was just really pleasant. It was like, that's kind of where my ear wanted to go. And then how it resolved out of it was also really satisfying. It just made me want to smile each time I heard it. And I heard it like a good 3 or maybe 4 times. That was nice. Okay. Let's see if I can find it.
Do it right. Asia. When all my dime dancing is through, I run to you.
There we go. It's beautiful. And da-da, that little suspension. So is running to you a good thing or not? I'm sensing a little conflict here. There's both like pleasure and conflict mixed together with this song. And maybe that does tie in with flavors of something. So there are some flavors that are so strong that they're almost uncomfortable, but they're just so good that you don't care. And so if something's really spicy or really sour, but again, that's the fun in it. And you sort of take the good with the bad. I just can't quite settle on what the flavor actually is in this song. But again, maybe there are just so many that you're not supposed to decide. Okay. So yeah, Aja, that's an example of how he pronounces that word. And I think it was even more distinct the next time it happened, to the point where it kind of made me smile. I was like, oh, he's doing that thing again. And it's really unique to him. It really stands out in my mind from other vocalists. But then the other little sound I was talking about, that little pop, pop, pop sound, I think it's just like a stopped on a guitar, and like an electric guitar. But it's so dry, secco, that it became another sound altogether. And I was like, what is that? Later on, I think I caught on that it was just a really dry guitar sound. Okay, let's move on. So I also mentioned the ornamentation. In music, ornamentation just means moving around quickly. Da-da-dum, or a trill, or a brum-bam, little things like that. And there were so many of those in this song, all across the board with different instruments. I believe that kind of became a motif in itself. So let's try to find one spot where I sort of started noticing. I was like, oh, well, that's kind of cute. And some of them were actually kind of bendy, slidey, which then actually ties into the otherworldliness that we heard at the end. This is really well balanced, but not obviously so. I love that kind of clever writing. Okay, so let's see if we can find this next spot. Even in the guitar solo, the ornamentation there. Brum, brum. Yep, brum, brum. You hear it in the guitar too? Whew. Oh. Okay. So, brum, brum, that's not necessarily the best moment to hear, because it happens in the piano and the organ and stuff like that in other spots. But you can hear it. It's still there. That's one of the spots where it does happen, just in a slightly different spot. So it was the guitar, but the first one was brum, brum. It sounded almost like distant brass. So that maybe that was a keyboard, maybe it was brass. I don't know. But I love that little mini motif that's there. And the guitar solo itself was kind of based on it. So we don't have long tones. We don't have, it wasn't noodly. It was ornamented. And I believe that the ornamentation changed right with the chord changes. That's one reason why it seemed so easy and smooth, is because all of those things corresponded directly at the same time with one another. Okay, but now we're to the saxophone. So at first I was like, okay, saxophone. But later on is when it started to change. The timbre of the instrument changed a little bit. So let's move forward to hear that. Okay, so just straight saxophone here. Love this descending, chromatic descending with ba-dum, ba-dum. Okay, now it's different. Just in time for that guitar stuff in the back, it got echoey, but listen to that. The vibrato is really tight. It's different. See? There? Okay. And then we got the Dude Ranch again. Ooh, that's a goosebump moment right there. The chords and how it's handled in the left hand of the piano, and then with the hi-hat there in the drums. A little bit of the slide guitar that comes back in. Again, it's so well balanced. They brought the Dude Ranch back in right when they needed to. Wow, okay. So I might be most impressed with this saxophone solo section, at least for the instrumental part of it. I mean, all the soloists did a fantastic job, but what they played with here with the saxophone really kind of was thinking outside of the box. You hear how, like, held back and nasally the saxophone got. And then it was happening right at the same time as there was this really intense guitar chord sound that came in. It got echoey all of a sudden, really playing with that. And then almost getting slidey. So we kind of went from distinct ornamentation to more of the slidiness, which kind of harkens to the slide guitar. It's just really different. Okay, but now I know it was preparing us for what's coming at the end. So let's take a look at that again. I'm still kind of perplexed about it. Maybe on this next time, I'll be used to it. But for now, I'm not quite used to it. It's a little uncomfortable. But sometimes that's a good thing because it means maybe we're pushing our boundaries. It's not a dislike. It's just a, huh? What was that? Yeah, and I'll just have to see how many times is it going to take me to listen to it before I'm really used to it. All right, well, here we go. Love that. Okay. Hello, drums. Yeah. Oh, I've been waiting for that. Okay. That. Okay. Oh. Okay. Getting weirder. Okay. Well, the end definitely came through on a few points a little bit better this time, but I'm still kind of uncomfortable with it. But again, that's a good thing because I know that eventually I will be more comfortable with it. And when that day comes, that means I have pushed those boundaries. There have been so many different pieces of music, classical or not, throughout my life. Honestly, especially some classical pieces that I just didn't care for the first time I heard it, or it was just too much, or it didn't seem balanced, or just a little bit of discomfort. But once I got to know it, some of those pieces became my absolute lifelong favorites. So I'm not saying this is going to be a lifelong favorite. I definitely like this song. Definitely. But it's going to take me a little bit longer to get used to this ending. But the second time through already, this little quick listening here, the little snippet, I was able to focus on the drummer. Wow. Fantastic. And then bum, 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 that little motif, that little sort of syncopated thing was more steady. It wasn't there to sort of shock you, but I didn't even hear it the first time because I was like, okay, the aliens have landed. And I still kind of got, the shivers because of that huge crescendo. And then that little sound. It's really weird. And it's really exaggerated in headphones. But at the same time, I kind of want to hear it again. So I think it's already working its magic on me. Okay. That was the namesake of this album. Track number 2, Asia. It was, I think, one of the masterpiece songs for this album. And again, with its length, that 8 minutes, that makes sense. And the center of this piece lived up to that expectation. I feel like now, like just now, am I starting to really see what this band is about. And we're still just kind of at the beginning. It's proggy, it's jazzy, it's experimental beyond just the prog stuff. I mean, all that weird stuff at the end and playing with the timbres, like pulling the different tones from different musicians together. And it's just seamless. So professionally done. I didn't really hear any weaknesses. Because some bands strive to not be perfect. I say that on the channel. You know, you don't have to be perfect, right? But then there are some bands that when they get together, there is a level of perfection there. And so if it's there, it's kind of fun. It's admirable. I feel like I was so able to depend on their musicianship. Even at the end. Okay, so if the song would have started with all that weird stuff at the end, I would not have had the confidence yet. I'm glad they saved it for the end because we got through all of that amazing stuff and it's like, okay, now they're going to get weird. Okay, so where are we going next? I think there's just one more and then it's Home at Last. And what's next? Deacon Blues, I think, is the next track. And so I always say at the end of these reactions, is this song going to go on my playlist? So obviously my playlist is consisting of this album as I build each track. So yeah, it's going to be on my current playlist, but it's going to stay there. And I even feel like I want to listen to this song by itself, but I also want to listen to the first song, Black Cow, and then this song with it after. Like I want to hear them together. So I will be doing that in preparation for track 3. Okay, so thanks for joining me along on this fun journey so far. We're still just at the beginning, and my eyes are really starting to open as to the breadth of this group. So be sure to do all the things, like and subscribe. And again, you can check out all the tracks from the album and all the other albums I've done on the channel so far on Patreon and if you're a channel member. But then a select few will be released for everyone. And as always, just remember that you don't have to be perfect. Just be okay. And keep listening.